of Rachel Barton Pine. You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Concert season has officially arrived. Over the next few weeks, musical organizations of all shapes and sizes will open their 2024-25 programs. Towards the end of the month of September, Winnipeg's premier chamber music series, Virtuosi, begins their year, one which looks to provide plenty of refreshing and inspiring musical encounters. To walk us through the season, I'm joined by Virtuosi Artistic Director Jennifer Thiessen. Welcome back to Classic 107.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Oh, always great having you here. First off, how was the summer?
Oh, it was fantastic. Total change of pace. I really liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And now it's sort of back to reality, back to work.
Precisely.
And we know that there's a lot of work that goes into planning a season. So plenty of work that's done behind the scenes. And here we are, a 7-concert season. And I'm wondering, if, before we get into the nitty gritty of each performance, is there a sort of overarching idea or goal when it comes to Virtuosi Concerts and its programming?
Definitely there is, and it's becoming clearer with each year that I'm there. It's been 2.5 years now. And at the same time, very consistent with Virtuosi's written program mandate from previously and my vision of what classical programming can be and who it can be for. So we do try to do a balanced season with music by and for all different kinds of people. But the core is sort of, I always think of it as beautiful music that any curious listener can enjoy. So someone who loves classical music, knows a ton, has favorite recordings, favorite artists, favorite composers, can come in and love the quality and the depth and the research and everything of the programming, that kind of thing. Also, if somebody's just discovering classical music and they're like, I'm going to check this out, it could also be something that they would really enjoy because it's just beautiful no matter what concert they drop in on. Yeah,
well said. And what an interesting season it will be. I've gone through the program. It's here in the studio. Just a beautiful program, too, I have to say. I mean,
it's beautiful.
Just flipping through it,
That's
it's just
props
a beautiful program.
Relish
indeed.
Branding did this for us. They did such a beautiful job.
It looks so good.
Thank
you. And it begins this season in a little bit of a different fashion, an interdisciplinary concert in which music and movement both take center stage, right?
That's right. So this group has existed for a while. This is a program they've done elsewhere. It is the Looking Glass Ensemble. There's 4 members, and they're based in St. John's, Newfoundland, and in Toronto. And one of the core members is a dancer and choreographer, Shannon Litzenberger, who lives in Toronto. And the other sort of core member is Christine Carter, a clarinetist who lives in St. John's. And they have this collective for this program. It's alongside Vernon Regier, originally from Winnipeg. So we're excited to welcome Vernon back here. And Gregory O, the fantastic pianist from Toronto.
I'm curious, has something like this ever been done by Virtuosi? Like movement and music both together on the Virtuosi stage? I can't recall.
Sure, not to my knowledge, but I know there has been talk of an interest in combining things or ways of presenting classical music that allows the listener to sort of take it in a different way. So we have works on this program like Beethoven's Trio in B-flat major for clarinet, cello, and piano. So a classic work people may have heard many times if they're into this sort of niche of classical chamber music, but at the same time you'll have modern choreography that's designed for a concert stage. So she's not going to be, sitting in anybody's lap or anything. Yeah. It's like very designed for the context. She uses a box at times, like a sort of cube, and it's very contained, so it can be done on any concert stage. But then there's also sort of classic, but still contemporary works like Arvo Pärt's Spiegel im Spiegel, which is, it is now. It's almost part of the canon, I would say.
Yeah, certainly.
And Randy Wolf and Vivian Fung are the more contemporary composers that have works on the program.
So the season begins Sunday, September 29th, 2:30 p.m. at Westworth United. October going to be a bit of a down month for Virtuosi. You get right back to it in November with not 1 but 2 concerts slated, and the first featuring an internationally acclaimed string quartet from Sweden. How did you get the Stenhammar Quartet here in Winnipeg?
So Virtuosi loves collaborations, and we really see the importance of it, especially at this time. It's not an easy time for all of the arts organizations, and we really believe in the strength of a diverse arts scene. So all of the little organizations and ensembles existing and working together to make things happen. So Groundswell was also working with the Stenhammar Quartet from Sweden to bring them in for a project. And they asked us if we would want to join them and collaborate in bringing them to do 2 totally separate programs, because this quartet does new music, which is what they'll be doing with Groundswell, and they do classical, very classical programs as a big part of their work. So we get the classical stuff, and Groundswell will get the more experimental new things.
Very fun indeed. Sunday, November 3rd at the Muriel Richardson Auditorium. Music by the ensemble's namesake, Wilhelm Stenhammar, plus Bedřich Smetana and Germain Taillefer. Hence the title of this concert, Stockholm, Paris, Prague, 1900, really giving us this sort of snapshot of the state of the string quartet at the turn of the last century, right?
Exactly.
Really cool indeed.
Yeah. So these places, they're not far to us in this day and age. We don't think of those cities as being so far apart.
Yeah.
But in 1900, there was more of a distinct community or a scene within each place because it was more difficult to travel. So while they were close enough to have contact with each other, there were really distinct flavors of string quartet sort of being developed in these different places.
Then a few weeks later, a real look at the now, a pair of rising stars, Manitoba's own David Liam Roberts, who's been no stranger to us here in the province. Phenomenal cellist he is, alongside Saskatchewanian Godwin Friesen at the piano. Together, the pair known as Prairie Sons. This seems like a pretty wide-ranging concert. Poulenc, Rachmaninoff, music of Joni Mitchell, and even one penned by Godwin. Is that right?
That's right. So these two met. They're both from the prairies, but they met in Toronto in school. And at this point, they'll be studying... I think both of them will be studying in Europe and coming back to do this Prairie Debut tour. So this is a collaboration with Prairie Debut and the Women's Musical Club of Winnipeg. And the program is developed by them. So it's music that showcases their instruments and their, amazing classical chops, and also their sort of love of the prairies, not being at home, being away at school. And I think they are having that soft spot for home. And they've developed this program. And Godwin is a composer as well as a pianist. So it's fantastic to be able to feature one of his pieces, plus their favorite, Joni Mitchell. I think they may throw in some Neil Young too. I'm not sure, but...
So good. So good. That's Sunday, November 17th,
yes.
2:30 p.m. at the Muriel Richardson Auditorium. Now, admittedly for listeners, we're kind of glossing over things. We're going through it quickly because there's so much to get through. All the details are up at virtuosiconcerts.ca. This takes us into the new year. And I don't mean to glaze over this one because I think it's an exciting kind of returning third year this time around for the Roots and Branches Mentorship Concert. Featuring artists like Miona Milovanovic, who I've interviewed before, plus Christina Thanish-Smith, who's been a regular here on the station, and Deverson Correa, plus their mentors. That coming up January 12th to kick off the new year, 2025. I think regular listeners will know about that, the wonderful mentorship opportunity and the chance for these young artists right on the cusp of their careers to take center stage. But then we're going to skip to February when violinist Rachel Barton-Pine gives a solo recital. We heard a little bit of her playing in the lead into this interview. I gotta say, Jen, I'm just so ecstatic about this one. We've been talking about collaborations, Rachel Barton-Pine performing with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, and then a solo recital with Virtuosi. How are you feeling about this one?
I'm so excited. When I saw her name on the list of soloists that would be coming in to play with the Winnipeg Symphony, which is a list we see relatively early on and are not allowed to share with anybody, but because we discuss with the Symphony Programming Office of which artists, which soloists might be interested in doing a solo recital as well. When I saw her name on that list, I just, if I could have grabbed it, I would have grabbed it physically. But she's a wonderful violinist. I really admire her. And she has this beautiful program that's completely solo. So it's not violin and piano, it's solo violin. And it takes us through, it's called American Traditions. That's her title. And it takes us through her vision, I think, of what goes into a historic and current American sound of classical music. Huh. So she does start with Bach, who's a European, obviously, but I think imagining his dance forms, like in the piece you just heard, these are dance forms connected to folk dance as well. And then she makes a direct link between those dance forms, like jig, you don't have to go too far in to see the connections, and then to fiddle composers. Of course, there's such a big fiddle tradition in the States. So you have Mark O'Connor and others. And then she also brings it into the present with connections to dance-related music like jazz, like hip-hop, and composers who are influenced by that music and creating classical new works influenced by these other traditions. So, and her program, it will be at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. So the location is amazing for a program like that because it does dive a little deeper than the surface layer of what classical music is. So I love that she's doing that, and I love that we were able to do it in that beautiful garden at the center of the museum, and she'll be playing solo in that incredible resonance space.
Oh, so exciting indeed. That's Friday, February 28th, 7:30 p.m. Just one more little plug for Rachel Barton-Pine, not that she needs it. But not only is she the first American and youngest ever gold medal winner at the International Johann Sebastian Bach competition, she also played in like a thrash doom metal band on the Viper, which is like this wild 6-string violin thing. I mean, you can explain it better than I can. It sounds almost like viola-esque, cello-esque. I mean, just like a phenomenal musician through and through.
Absolutely.
Right?
And she has very surprising sides. Like I think she can present as a very, demure, could we say?
Yeah.
And then also she has this side that I didn't know very much about before, but she's really a metal lover.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
also the concerto that she'll be playing with the Winnipeg Symphony is connected to metal.
Yes, indeed.
Written by...
Very exciting indeed.
Yes,
anyway, a solo
exciting.
recital. It's going to be really cool.
Yes.
You should be there. Then in March, Toronto-based pianist Luke Welch returns to the province. Tell us a little bit about what he has planned. This is another very special program.
So Luke is, I would say he's an emerging concert soloist. He has played a lot. He's from Toronto. Here's a fun behind the scenes for all the musicians out there sending pitches of their programs to presenters. Luke has been pitching to me since I started at Virtuosi. That's how I discovered who he was. And for the last 2.5 years, have been listening to his albums that he's coming out with, seeing where he's playing, kind of having an eye on him, like, what's this guy actually about? And he's very lovely as a person, lovely to correspond with. And he pitched this beautiful idea. He has a brand new album coming out this year that's called Northern Magnolias. So that's why we've called the concert that. And it's the music of our Nathaniel Dett, who's arguably Canadian or American, depending.
Yeah, depending on which side of the border he's working on
exactly.
at the time. Yeah.
But it's music of this composer that a lot of us don't know of otherwise. And his previous album was music of Samuel Coleridge Taylor, also who's not very widely known. But both of these composers, kind of early 20th century, end of 19th century even, composers were Black. Luke is Black. And he told me, we were talking about programming ideas even after we had decided, yes, let's do this, let's go ahead. And he also does a lot of Beethoven, Schubert, Scarlatti. He's really great at this repertoire and loves it. He was proposing various things. And I was like, well, you have this amazing last album and you have your current album coming out. Why not do works from both? And he actually said to me, I've never heard of a program of all Black composers played by a Black musician. And in that moment, I was just, the ridiculousness of that situation was so apparent. Yeah. And he was so gracious about it, not expecting someone to want to program that, which to me was the 100% reason why it's that's something we can change in this moment. And that's what we're doing on March 29th, is you'll hear an amazing program, beautiful music, expressive, joyful, imaginative music by these two composers and this lovely pianist, Luke Welch.
7:30 p.m., St. Andrew's River Heights United Church. And then the season closes out with an international flair, cross-cultural, cross-period, cross-style. Tell us about the ensemble Constantinople.
Constantinople has been around for a while. They have a really lovely reputation. They tour a lot. They've actually played at Virtuosi before in the past. I don't know which year, but I've seen them in the archives. So it'll be kind of a nice link to a past concert. Constantinople changes shape with each project. So they had their core members, and their director and founding member is Kia Tabassian. He plays the Persian setar and sings and organizes these beautiful programs and ensembles. So this particular project brings together, the idea of the ensemble is bringing together a kind of basis of Iranian Persian music, traditional music, combined with other musics from many other places. And the idea of Constantinople as this city that received, had so much traffic and so much travel, and that the combination of cultures and sounds would have been a beautiful thing and not something that would have been very separate. But sort of the historic connection there. So this concert brings together Constantinople's core members, Kia Tabassian and Patrick Graham, with their guest Ablay Sissoko, who's from Senegal. And he plays the kora, which is a stringed instrument, and he sings, and his voice is incredible. So when I was considering projects and I heard a recording and it was just really beautiful, and then he started singing and I got shivers all over, and I knew this was the one that had to come. It's really incredible.
Very special indeed. Closes out the season Friday, April 25th, 2025. Seems so far away, but we know it's going to come quickly. What a season this is. Hats off to you and the team at Virtuosi for making it happen.
You. On
top of this, there's also Out Loud at the Library, formerly known as the Skywalk Concerts. That's in partnership with Millennium Library and the Carol Shields Auditorium. Lots to check out there. While I got you here in the studio, of course, if people are thinking like, oh boy, I would love to be at these concerts, the best bang for buck, because we Winnipeggers love a deal, is to get a season subscription, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny to say, but in a way, subscriptions are coming back into style.
Yeah, they're in.
Even the West End Cultural Center is doing subscriptions. It's fantastic. And we subscribe to, streaming services and whatnot all the time. It's a great way to save money and get some amazing events in your calendar. You can also coordinate with a friend. We always call chamber music the music of friends at Virtuosi. And it is it's as much about getting together, seeing the other listeners there, having some snacks at the intermission and chatting, and the environment and that experience of listening together is so powerful. So the best way to get that experience is you can subscribe to all 7 concerts or to 5. So you can choose 5 of your favorites. And if you change your mind during the year, you can swap them out, no problem. And when you subscribe, you also get to bring a friend for free to one of the concerts. You can say, oh, I think my friend would love this one. I'm going to bring them. And you just get to sign up and bring your friend.
Huge perk. Plus, you get to save a few bucks by doing the season subscription over individual ticket sales. VirtuosiConcerts.ca, the place to go for tickets and more. Again, VirtuosiConcerts.ca. Jen, thanks so much for being here this morning. Great seeing you, and congrats on what looks to be an outstanding season.
Thanks so much, Simon, and thanks for your support. We really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. Happy to talk about it. And cannot wait for some of these artists to roll into the studio and to chat more with them and hear about what they have planned in the stories. We're going to end this interview with a little bit of Constantinople's playing. This is Traversée.